Yeah, you the model, the lawyer, the stewardess. Yeah. You the doctor, the dentist, you doing it. That's why they scared.
Hey, Justin, I'm so happy to have you on. Thank you for chatting with me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. This has been something, several weeks in the making, so I'm really excited about it.
I know our schedules were a little crazy, but I'm really excited to have you on because you're actually a first within the field of coaching and mentorship in business. Although I did have Warner, but you seem to have a little bit of a specific edge to what you do. So I'm excited to talk about it because this topic is, I would say, still new. Would you think it's still kind of new, like mental health, overcoming mental battles and success and what that looks like?
Yeah, I don't think the actual, I guess, overarching umbrella of this topic is new. I think that what's changed is that it's become more mainstream because it's become more accessible to people. It was almost like when we think about like success and big success in life, prior to the boom of social media and things like that, and the fact that you see, I think it's like 1,700 millionaires are made every single day in the world now. So, a decade ago, we didn't see that type of stuff and we didn't have exposure to that. Right. So it's like when we were going through life, we were just like trapped in our bubble. But now we literally have access to the entire world right at our fingertips. So while the concept may seem new, like we could trace it back decades and decades when you start going back and you start looking at, Tony Robbins, whenever he was coming up, and you have just all of these other wonderful people who have been putting this message out there about overcoming your limiting beliefs, breaking free from all the things that are holding you back to go out and create the life and the success that you desire. So it's been there. Like I said, it just hasn't been as accessible like it is now.
Right. And you mentioned Tony Robbins, and we know that name and we know what he talks on, and he is a motivational speaker. But it's really interesting to think that I never gave him my attention, or I never gave that type of talk my attention. It wasn't until maybe it comes to reaching a certain point in life to where you listen to it and then it tickles your eardrums, because you're at the point of reevaluating and you think, oh, that makes sense. Struggle doesn't mean that I suck. It means that it's part of the, I guess it's just the point in my life where I've been hearing it. It's like everywhere. It's everywhere. And almost everyone has this knowledge of how to overcome this. But really quick, just to give people a little insight on who you are.
Yeah.
Before we just jump into the juiciness that is this topic. Okay. I have Mr. Justin Aldridge here. He's a life coach, author, speaker. He helps ambitious high achievers get unstuck. He has branded himself to help people pursue their fullest life and to live an uncommon life, which is this cool little slogan that I think was birthed from your business and what you do. So now let's talk about what you do.
Yeah. So just like you said, I really I tell people all the time, there's this negative stigma around the word dreamer, but I think that that's the way that we were created to be, because you think about kids. I think that, and I actually just put up I wrote an article, last week on my blog, I posted it, and I was talking about 4 uncommon life lessons that we can learn from children. And now, while the mind of a child is not developed enough to create the success that we desire now, our minds right now aren't developed enough to create the success that we desire in the future. So we spend our entire adolescent years being told that we should grow out of childhood and out of our childish ways. And that's right. We should grow out of our childish ways, but not our childlike ways. Right. And that's the thing, is we get so disconnected. Like when we were kids, we didn't have anxiety. We didn't have depression. We didn't have these limiting beliefs. We didn't have these biases, these prejudices that hold us back, that cause all of these struggles in our life. We just went out there. We knew what we wanted and we pursued it with everything that we had.
Yeah.
But yeah, we grow out of that. And I think that so much of personal growth is actually tapping back into that inner child, getting back to our childlike ways. So going back to what you were saying a minute ago about how, growing up with Tony Robbins, you weren't in a place to receive it. Mm-hmm. Personal growth, to me, that's why I say it's tapping back into that inner child. Because think about whenever your parents were teaching you lessons growing up, right? How many lessons did they try to teach you and you thought they were totally full of it? And now as an adult,
don't call me.
Exactly. Now as an adult, you look back and you're like, damn it, they were right.
Yes.
And that's the thing with personal growth. Like me, anybody else who's out there that's a coach, Tony Robbins, all we're doing is we're taking these wisdoms, this knowledge, these truths about life that have been passed down. We're mixing it with some science that these people who are way smarter than us have gone and conducted in laboratories and at these really amazing institutes. And we're merging them together to help people understand that if you go out and you do the habits and the tactics that optimize who you are as a person, and you mix that with the psychology of tapping back into that inner child and breaking away from all of the things that have just been layered on top of us, like limiting stories, limiting beliefs, lies that have been told to us. If you can deal with all that stuff, that's when you can go out and you're in your optimal form to actually be able to chase down your dreams and create that life that you want to have. And that's what I do, is I help people who are those ambitious dreamers of the world, the ones who have that great sense of calling, like they really want to do something special with their life and they feel like they're meant to, but they're just kind of stuck. They're people who have had some success, but it's not the success that they desire.
Right.
They want to do something with more purpose, with more passion, with more fulfillment. And I work with those people and I help them break free from a lot of those things that have been holding them back. I help them step into that future version of themselves that they need to be and then start taking action to get to where they want to go.
Wow. So in this field, has this been your desire? What exactly led you, first of all, into pursuing this, into helping others? Because there's got to be a story behind that. And then also, you're a big dreamer as well. You're somebody kind of going after it. What does that look like for you, a coach?
Yeah. So first, I'll answer the second question first. I think that all great coaches are a product of their product. So the things that I do with my clients are things that I do for me first. Like I'm like the guinea pig. I test everything out in my life. So whether it's journaling, whether it's affirmations, whether it's the different exercises that I do with my clients whenever we're trying to really upgrade their identity, all of those different things, I do them first to see how they impact me and my life and my pursuit of success.
That's really
because
good. Yeah.
Well, it's like trying to be like to call yourself a health coach, but yet you've never gone through any sort of significant health transformation. The greats are the ones who live it, whether it's health and fitness, whether it's real estate, whatever it is, the ones who are actually going out and they're taking that knowledge and they're not just holding on to it, but they're actually applying it. Those are the ones that become great. So yeah, like I said, I'm the guinea pig first and foremost. And that's why I geek out on this stuff, because I'm so passionate about it and I've seen the change that's made in my life. So then it's like I have this secret that I have right here and I just want to give it to everybody. And that's why, like when I have conversations with people and they're like, and they're jaded, or they've got these walls built up so high because of life and all the experiences, and they don't want to take that plunge. They don't want to bet on themselves. Like the fear is just so overwhelming. I mean, like breaks my heart for people because I'm like, literally, I got this thing. All you have to do is take it. And so like, that's why I get so fired up about it. And then the first question you asked about my journey, it's kind of funny. I tell people all the time that coaching chose me. I didn't choose it. I mean, going back, I was always one of those kids from a very young age where adults said things like wise beyond your years, cut from a different cloth. Like that was the type of kid that I was. I was the outlier. So when I use that word uncommon, that's the way that I want to step out in my life every single day now. But that's who I was as a kid, and I hated it about myself. I hated it because I didn't fit in. Like I was a really good athlete. I was a really smart kid. I was a quiet kid, all of these different things. So because of all of those elements coming together in one hodgepodge, like I existed on an island. I didn't have any close friends. I was too smart for the jocks. I was too dumb for the nerds. I was too quiet for the outgoing kid. So literally I just existed in isolation. And I just had all of this internal dialogue going on. And people see me now and they're like, dude, I could have never guessed that.
Yeah, for sure.
I spent so much time in here, and that's why I can connect with, I can go out somewhere and I can point out the dreamers in the room. I can point out the aspirational people, the people who really, really had the big goals and dreams. I can point them out because you can see it inside of somebody. Like Ed Milet talks about it, the fact that when you look into somebody's eyes, Like you can really see the truth about them. If you really, really look into somebody's eyes, you can see the truth about them. And I completely believe that. Because when you walk around and you look at most people in life, they have like this dejected look. Like they just have this look of being completely lost and completely detached from life. The dreamers of the world, when you look into their eyes, like they're looking into your eyes. They see all the possibilities for you. Just the moment that they look at you, they see all of that in you.
My gosh. And we're through Zoom right now, but at the same time, I'm like, is he looking into my soul right now? I can't tell. That's such a very, it's a skill. Like I've always seen it because I've heard people talk like that. Like I knew one guy, and this was a little bit more on the maybe supernatural scale, but he would be able to tell me, by looking at people, their life a little bit, like whether they've lied or whether with their families get, like, it's just this weird intuition that he had that was a little bit on a heightened scale. So I've heard this, and I've also known people to be very knowing how to perceive people. And if anything, I'm so interested to know what it is that you see, how you catch it. What does that look like in somebody? Because I've been surprised by people who maybe are more on the timid side, are more on this and that, but then they just like wow me because they showed me a little side of their intelligence or a little side of the way that their mind works. And I'm like, oh, you got something. There's something more. There's way more to you than what you've let on. But that's me being surprised because I didn't initially catch it. Like, how do you catch that? What does that look like?
Well, and so going back to like as a kid, because a lot of the people who are like me, the dreamers growing up, we end up getting detached because it's like we continue on in that dreamer's mind while everybody else is going these opposite directions. Mm-hmm. So because of that, because we exist in isolation a lot of times, we learn to start observing. We spend so much time by ourselves that, there's nobody else to look at. So we've got to look at everybody else. So we start picking up on things in life. And for me, conversations, like everybody's favorite thing to talk about is themselves. Like that's just how we're wired. We love to talk about ourselves. So whenever you really see it in people, like you said, because you can still see these people who are like eyes down, very, very introverted, very shy people who are also very, very ambitious people. Mm-hmm. And the way that you pick up on this, the way that you see this is when you start tapping into them and what makes them tick. Because even the most introverted person, if you get them in the right environment and you start opening up the opportunity for them to speak on what really fires them up, you will see their eyes light up. Yep. You will see them come to life in a way that most people have probably never seen them come to life. Because most people, they see those type of people, the ones who are eyes down, looking at the floor, very detached as far as like they're being an introvert. Most people don't give those people the time of day. So when you're the person who goes over there, goes out of your way, you show a genuine interest in that person, you will see them light up in a way that you've never seen before. And that's why I can also see through the outgoing, like overly boisterous, fake swagger that people have. You get that same person in the right environment and you'll see them crumble. You start leaning into them, like, what do you really want for your life? And things like that. And they can't tell you because everything they built is just this facade.
Yes.
It's just understanding how do you really connect with the soul and the heart of a person rather than just taking everything at face value, surface level.
That is some really deep stuff, but it's so good that you bring it up. And I've had many people tell me, everyone loves talking about themselves, and I know what they mean. And I don't project it to be a bad thing. But then that's where my insecurity kicks in because I don't necessarily talk about myself. I'm more the one asking questions. And so I'm very good at asking questions. But that I love that you are talking in the perspective of valuing and seeing the other person. Like you can see the other person. You might have a prejudice about them. And when I say prejudice, I mean like, oh, look, they don't look that well put together, or they're not speaking with a confident voice or this and that. But then what you do is you just kind of invest a little bit more and allow them to be in an environment to where they essentially just come out of their shell.
Yeah. I genuinely believe that every single one of us has a God-given gift, talent, skill that we were blessed with to go out and affect change in the world in the way that we can. But most people don't ever tap into that. And the reason why is because the single biggest fear in life is the fear of judgment. Like, we are communal creatures. We're meant to be in relationship, in community with one another. So the thought of being rejected by somebody is the biggest fear that holds people back. That's the reason why you see people that are more terrified of public speaking than dying.
Yeah.
Like, how does that make any sense?
That's like number 2 behind cancer or something.
Yeah. Like, okay, just slightly behind cancer is the fear of public freaking speaking. And I can tell you, because I was one of those people, before I got up on stage, I was terrified of public speaking. I'm like, why am I so damn scared of getting up on stage and just saying words? I've been saying words my entire life. Why am I so scared of this? Yeah. And it always comes back to it. It's whether it's public speaking, whether it is starting that business that you've always wanted to start. You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of people seeing you fail. And that's the thing. When it comes to people who don't like talking about themselves, like, I don't ever like talking about myself from a place of arrogance or from a place of, oh, look at me. I like talking about myself from a place of opening up possibility for the other person to see, like, oh my God, if this guy could do it, like, I could totally do it. And that's why when we get in these conversations and we get the opportunity to talk about ourselves, we don't want to, because we're like, wait a second. How is this person going to judge me? Like, if I stutter right now, are they going to judge me? Or if I say that I don't have a whole lot of money, are they going to judge me? If I say that I'm rich, are they going to judge me? Mm-hmm. And so we start going down this rabbit hole of all of these potential ways that we can be judged, when in reality, we should be approaching it from the perspective of, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to just be me. This is an opportunity for me to share my gifting with this person. This is an opportunity for me to potentially empower this person to chase their dreams.
Okay. I mean, this is so true. So then tell me, when you started, so you went through this phase where you were isolated for a really long time. At what point, because we've all reached that point, and now that you are helping others, where was that point when you were like, I can't do my life like this. Like, this isn't how it's meant to be. There's things that I'm trying to do with my life. Where was that turning point? What did that look like?
Yeah, so when I say that coaching chose me, I didn't choose it. From like the time that I was 10 years old, people were telling me I need to be a life coach. And at that time, I'm like, what the hell is a life coach? And is this even real? And can you make money doing this?
Right.
So like, people have told me this my entire life. And as I got older, it got more and more prevalent. Like, you need to be a life coach. You need to be a life coach. You need to be a life coach. And it was always one of those things where I was just pushing it away. Going back to what you were saying, I wasn't in a place to receive that at that time. Because I was like, oh, well, I'm going to try to really make it as an athlete. And then I had all these limiting stories inside of my head, because we grew up, we struggled a lot financially. My dad went to prison. My 3 eldest siblings were all high school dropouts. So there's all these things inside of me going on. So even though I have big aspirations, I got very low belief. And I dealt with anxiety a lot through my teenage years. And really the turning point in my life, I went to college, graduated from college, top of my class, still didn't believe that I could be successful, and went into a series of jobs that I absolutely hated, and just continued to go down this cycle. And the turning point was, I had started to go into this really dark depression, and I started to deal with these really weird physical symptoms in my body. And I'm somebody who, for the last, I'm 33 now. So, I mean, literally the majority of my life, even still now, I've exercised 5 to 7 days a week. I'm very, very active. I take care of myself. And I started having all of these physical symptoms. Like, I was very lethargic every single day when I woke up. I had these huge mood swings. I was constantly dizzy. I had all these different bodily pains, all these things that were going on. And I was seeing specialist after specialist after specialist, having every test under the sun run on me.
Wow.
And the turning point was, I'm sitting in my wife's car, and I'm in the hospital parking lot, and I'm staring down at an envelope, and my hands are shaking. I've got tears just pouring down my face. And on this piece of paper are the test results from an MRI that I had done the week prior. And it was supposed to tell me if I had MS or brain tumors as the cause for all of the symptoms that I've been feeling. And I remember sitting there telling myself, like, God, if you will just allow me to get past this. Like, if you will just allow these results to be negative, I want to finally answer the call that you've been trying to send me. Like, you've been trying to show me all these years where I'm supposed to go, what I'm supposed to do. And I promise you, I'm going to figure out a way to pursue that. And I opened up the paper, and, you know, by the grace of God, everything was negative. And I thought back at that moment to literally the second time that I'd gone to the urgent care. This was like maybe a week after the symptoms had started. And a doctor looked at me, the ER doctor, and I'd had the same doctor both times I went back. And he looked at me in the face and he said, "Justin, there's nothing wrong with you." And I was like, "Doc,
but there is."
I was like, "I appreciate you saying that, but you can't feel what I feel right now. Like, there's something wrong with me." And he said, "No, there's nothing physically wrong with you." He said, "What's going wrong with you is in the 6 inches between your ears." And that was the moment right there that I understood that the key to everything in life, success, joy, fulfillment, love, satisfaction, everything was in here. If you don't have it together up here, you will never find what you're looking for out there. And that was like the catalyst that started the turn towards heading down that road.
That is insane, because I don't think that many people, I still think that the majority don't see it that way when it comes to physical ailments, when it comes to how their life has turned out. It's taken me a very long time to realize I am in the position that I am because of the decisions that I've made. Yes, it's obvious, but at the same time, that feeling of, well, I keep making the same patterns. Like, why this stuff is still happening to me, and I don't know how to change what I've been doing. Like that kind of, I guess, reflection and to pinpoint exactly what it is. It's so hard. I think it's the hardest to be like, to step back and be like, how do I pivot from here? So you find it clicked for you. It was like, it's in my mind. It's the way that I think. You walked out of that doctor's office, and then what?
So I would love to say that it was just like an immediate turn and everything transformed. But like most things, you know, going back to what you said, breaking free from those old patterns and habits is never just an overnight thing. Like, you don't just snap your fingers and everything transforms. And to kind of go back on what you were saying about how most people never come to that point, the reason why is because we're actually programmed to the opposite of that. So we're raised our entire lives to be told what to do before we do anything. And if we do something opposite, we're reprimanded for it. So we're not told to think for ourselves. We're not told to have that level of self-awareness. We're told, like, "Mom, Dad, something's wrong with me." "Oh, nothing's wrong with you. You're fine. You're okay. Go on about your business." In school, we're told, "Sit down, shut up, open your ears, listen, take in the information, and then that's all you need to do." So we're not taught to think for ourselves. We're not taught to speak up for ourselves. We're not taught to do a lot of the things that are required in order to have that level of self-awareness that it takes to realize that it's all in your mind.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, your thoughts create your actions. That you literally, most of the stuff that we do is subconscious. So it's based on programming, but there's always a thought before the action.
Okay. It's that right there, that programming that is within all of us to deprogram, to rewire. That is the part I get there's no way that's an overnight adjustment. But I think there's many people that can relate to your story in terms of being stuck in a depression, stuck in such a state of feeling paralyzed. And it turns out it just is a matter of the things that are going on within you that you haven't addressed. I can imagine that there had to be a lot of healing that took place, because if your body is manifesting something that is an internal belief, then you have to figure out what that belief is and then realize where it came from. You realize where it came from, there's a trauma behind it, and then there's the healing that is able to take place. So this journey is lifelong. I know that it's a lifelong journey, but the hope is that you can make changes to where you can live out a life that you want to.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem is whenever people start down this path of personal development, the reason why I think a lot of people give up is because they actually get discouraged by the fact that it's a lifelong journey, that there's not a destination. Because again, we're taught that you work towards something and then you achieve it. And then you work towards something and you achieve it. And that's how life is supposed to be. There's supposed to be a hard, fast deadline or stopping point for everything. So when it comes to personal development and there's not that hard, fast deadline, there's not that stopping point, like you're telling me I got to do this freaking forever? Like most people, we hear that and we're like, oh my God, like that's exhausting just thinking about it. No thanks, I'm out on that. But what they don't realize is that in doing that, you open up a whole new world of possibility for yourself. And another thing that Ed Milet talks about is his biggest fear is that at the end of his life, that he's going to go up to heaven and he's going to be standing there and God's going to introduce him to the version of himself that he could have been.
Yeah.
And that version of himself is not going to recognize him as the way that he was when he passed because he didn't go after it, because he didn't really pursue the limits of his being. Mm. And I thought about that. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's literally what I felt for my entire life. That I'm not the person that I'm meant to be. Like I am walking around. And that's the thing is most people, a lot of people walk around and they feel like because they're pursuing success or because they're doing these things, they walk around like feeling like a fraud because they haven't dealt with, like you said, the limiting beliefs, all the baggage from their past. They feel like a fraud in a lot of ways. But actually, the way that we walk around every single day being mediocre and less than our best selves, that is a fraud. That is the fraudulent version of you because you were not born to be that way.
Whoa.
Think about that. Like why in the hell would we be born to be mediocre? If you believe in anything bigger than you, which I think we all should, I don't care what you call it, God, universe, spirit, Allah, I don't care. If you believe that there's a bigger purpose for your life, why would you be born to be mediocre? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Regardless of age, gender, creed, religion, sex, disability, ability, it doesn't matter. We are all born to be spectacular in our own way. So when you're walking around any version less than that, you're being a fraud.
Oh man, Justin, I feel like super pumped and inspired. That what you said, oh man, what was it that I like my eyes got really big? It was probably at the point where you were like, we're being a fraud when we're not living our best self. Okay, so then let's identify, how do you draw that line between not feeling fake when you're trying to go for it and it looking like, no, this is you just going for it, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that it all comes back to, it's that same fear. It's that fear of judgment. Because at the end of the day, only you know your heart. Only you know your intentions. You know if you're full of crap when you're going out there. So if you're one of those ones who's going out there and you're acting like you're successful, you're one of these people on Instagram who's going out and renting these Lamborghinis or renting these houses to put up this front, like you got all this money and you're broke. If you're one of those people, you're going to know it. And people are going to find you out for it. But when you're going out and you're trying to step out, like let's say, for example, you were going to challenge yourself. And you were like, you know what? I'm going to go to networking events. I hate talking to people. I'm terrified of talking to people. But I'm going to go to networking events and I'm not going to let anybody in that room know that I'm terrified of talking to people, because I'm going to go up and I'm going to take the initiative and I'm going to go talk to people. So if you're going in there and you've got the thought in your head, like I'm a fraud, 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 then you're not going to take the initiative. You're not going to do that thing. You're going to shut yourself down. But if you go in there and you're like, this is part of the journey. This is part of the journey. This is part of the journey. This is me stepping into the version of myself that I want to be, that I need to be to get to where I need to go. Then the people who are going to judge you for that, those are the people who aren't on their own journey. Those are the people who are being frauds.
Yep.
So that's the thing is it's such a, like a conundrum. It's so ironic that we fear judgment, that we allow the fear of judgment to hold us back from actually growing and developing into who we want to be. And the fear and judgment that we're afraid of is coming from people who are not on their own journey to becoming who they want to be.
That's so good. And you know, what else as you were saying that, I was thinking about the fear of judgment and us being able to cloud that fear with our excuses. Like we're so good. I think many of us are so good at, instead of saying, no, I'm fearing the judgment right now. It's like, no, I got stuff to do. I got work tomorrow, or I haven't even done, my husband's going to get home soon. Like, I got to take care of this issue. Or, we have these excuses. And it could be as simple as like me being too lazy to go to the gym. And it's like, I have a project I have to work on. Like, I'm going to have to push this back another day, when in reality, that's us making our own excuses. Yeah. So the fact that in itself would be a really big step if people can listen to what they just said when it comes to taking action, a bold action, and being like, oh, I'm not going to do it because so-and-so. And then like stop and catch and be like, is that really why? Is it? And that's where like there's a mentor of mine. He talks about how if everybody could have one superpower, it would be radical self-awareness. Because if you could get so strong in your self-awareness and your self-honesty that not only can you catch yourself in the lie, but that you can also be honest about the fact that you are lying, and you could call yourself on your own BS, that will transform your life. Yeah. If you could have that sort of awareness and introspection to call yourself on your own BS and be like, Justin, dude, you're not afraid. You're not passing on this speaking engagement because it interferes with this or that. You're passing on this speaking engagement because you're afraid of somebody judging you. Or if it's like, no, you're not going to the gym because you don't have time. Mm-hmm. You're not going into the gym because you don't want people to see you in your workout clothes where you feel like you're overweight. You think that people are going to be judging you for being fat, so you're not going to go. Yeah. If you could call yourself on that, that will transform your life. Like I tell people all the time, like my clients, that the biggest transformational thing that you could do is what I call tiny conversations. And that is that moment of truth right there when that voice in the back of your mind clicks in and starts trying to talk you out of things. Yeah. Andy Frisella, who I absolutely love, he talks about how every single one of us have two voices inside of us. We have the boss voice and the bitch voice. And I don't know if I can curse, so I'm sorry. Yeah, you're fine. Okay. He talks about how the vast majority of the people allow the bitch voice to win out. And that's why our lives look the way that they do. And that is absolutely true. It's like the alarm goes off. You told yourself you were going to get up at 5 a.m. so that you could go work out. The alarm goes off at 5 a.m. What happens? Snooze, snooze, snooze. You look over, now all of a sudden it's 5:30. Oh, crap. I don't have time to get up and work out now. Yeah. Let alone the fact that you could get up and you could still do a 15-minute workout, which is better than nothing. I don't have time to do my full workout, so I might as well not even do it. I'll just wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow's already Wednesday, so I might as well just stop and wait until next week so I can get off to a fresh start in a good week. And so it's like we always have these excuses. But if at that moment, the moment that voice kicks in, you can sit there and you can get yourself to take action every single time. If you can get yourself to take action, that's when your life's going to change. Because that's literally the only thing that separates high achievers from non-high achievers. Is high achievers, when the bitch voice goes off, the boss voice kicks in. It's like, nope, go sit over there. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. The boss voice. I love that so much. Boss voice and the bitch voice. It's so true. We listen to the bitch voice more often than we need to. I think two things. With your years of being a coach, I would love to hear, anonymously, obviously, an example of maybe your toughest client. That it was like, he's not doing it. He's not breaking through. He's making the excuses. I don't think that he's ready for my coaching, but was able to overcome. Yeah. Well, first of all, my toughest client is me. Okay. I'm always my toughest client. But yeah, ironically, it's one of those things that most people, by the time they get to the point where they've overcome enough BS in their own mind to where they actually commit to coaching, by that time, they're usually not that hard to push because they've already grown some. And that's what I point out to them is the fact that today is not the start of your transformation journey. It's like they get on the phone. It's like a little kid going to school for the first time. And it's like they're pulling out their notebook and they got their pen and they're all buttoned up. They're ready to go. And they're like, I'm ready to start my transformation journey, coach. I'm like, no, like you already started your transformation journey. Like your transformation journey started the moment that you realized you had a problem that you wanted to change something.
That was the start of your transformation journey. And then you grew in that journey when you started actually seeking out a coach, when you started doing your research on what a coach is, what a coach does. Then you grew even more whenever you got on some of these calls and you told them like, yeah, I'll think about it, but you backed out. And then you grew even more when you finally decided that you wanted your dreams badly enough that you actually committed.
Yeah.
Like, you've already transformed night and day just to get to this point. So most of my clients, by the time that I get there, it's really just going in and one, it's helping them to understand, because they come in and everybody's looking for a magic bullet. They're looking for the red or the blue pill. Right. They're wanting that overnight fix. And it's like, okay, Justin, what do I need to do to get there? And I'm like, okay, we got to change you first. And they're like, oh, okay. But what do I need to start doing tomorrow? Like, to get there? And I'm like, we're gonna work on you first, and we'll start talking about those things later, because the things you're doing right now are typically pretty good. We got to focus on you because you're the problem. And people are like, wait, what do you mean I'm the problem? And I'm like, well, you're the problem, but you're also the solution. So we got to fix you. So like, a lot of my clients come to me, and like I said, really a lot of them are trying to either make life transitions. They've been successful in one area and they're wanting to transition to another. And that fear, it's like, this is their identity, who they are. Everything that they've had is wrapped up in this person because it's provided for them. It's provided a great life for them. And they're wanting to pivot. They're wanting to go somewhere else. And they're falling back into those same patterns that they had as a child.
What they were comfortable with. Yeah.
Exactly. Those things that drove them in the initial direction in the first place. So it's helping them to break free from that, helping them to see how they've created all the success. And then we start diving into the nuts and bolts and the logistics of what do they need to be doing from a strategic standpoint. Or I have somebody who is starting out pursuing success and they want to speed up. They want to go and they want to finally put their foot down and they want to make it happen. Those tend to be a little bit tougher client, because it's like, okay, we got to go in and we've got to evaluate everything that's going on in here between the ears, and we've got to evaluate their habits. We got to evaluate the things that they're doing. And it's just like anybody else trying to break them of a habit. Like, I started out in coaching in the fitness space as a personal trainer. And it's just like everybody else. It's like, okay, stop eating French fries. And they come back the next week. It's like, no. Like, stop eating French fries. And then they come back and it's like a month and a half later. It's like, okay, stop eating French fries. And it's just keep
stop eating the French fries.
And you keep going with them, but you put in systems and things like that. And it's like waking up early is just something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's like, okay, what systems can we put in place to help you wake up earlier? Okay, we can start by the fact that you put your phone down at 8 o'clock. You don't touch your phone anymore for the rest of the night. You turn the TV off at 8 o'clock. So anything that you do after 8 o'clock is going to involve no screen time. It's either going to be you sitting there thinking, you're going to be journaling, anything that you want to do in that way, because we want to make sure that you get to bed earlier. Most people don't sleep well because they spend too much time on their phones and their devices. And they go to sleep with too many thoughts in their head. So journaling to get all those thoughts out on paper so that way they can release them and they can actually relax.
Yep.
So we do some of those things. And then it's like, okay, what can we do in the morning? So it's helping them to create a morning routine that's actually effective for them to be able to get up and get going. So it's really things like that. None of them are really just hard. It's just me being that person, that source of wisdom and knowledge on some of the more scientific and technical stuff. And then that source of accountability. That's why I tell people all the time, like, I'm a coach, I'm an accountability partner, and I'm a cheerleader. Like, that's really what I do. If you boil down what I do, that's really what I do. Like, I give you the X's and O's, the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And then I hold you accountable to it. And then I cheer you along throughout the entire process. I mean, that's really it.
Yeah, that's true. And, people might look at that. I do have a business coach, and I'm so glad that I invested in her, because I'm, like you said, I was the client that's like starting fresh, pivoting into a new career, and I wanted to fast track the process. But I went in, and she gave me the practical stuff, and she's helping me to structure everything. And it's simple, but I still needed her. Like, there's no way that I could have been in this like groove of it without her. And even though it might look like, why am I going to pay, whatever, for something that I could have probably figured out myself. And I'm like, for sure, I probably could have figured this stuff out myself. Would I have done it myself? Meh. I don't think so. There's something in a professional voice and an accountability and in someone who's already walked the walk and been through it and who's been able to overcome. There's a lot of stuff, obviously. I feel like legitimate coaches are able to speak from life and their own experience to where even though our lives are not the same and we're not having the same struggles, it's still something that would resonate. But that is so true. Simple stuff, not easy. Not easy to do. We can all set goals, right? I think I was talking to a friend yesterday. I was like, I set goals. That's not my problem. My problem is not setting goals. My problem is doing them. My problem is like putting that urgency within myself and attaching my emotions to these goals to where I feel like I wake up every day and I'm after it. Because the problem isn't writing it. The problem isn't identifying what I want. I know what I want. I know what I want to go for. It's just getting out of my comfort and doing the things that are going to take me one day at a time closer to those goals. So I get that. I totally get that on the coach aspect and everything that you're offering and the work that you're doing. It's awesome.
We as human beings, as much as we tear ourselves down, as much as we belittle ourselves, as much as we limit ourselves, we are amazing, amazing creatures. And we have so much freaking potential inside of us. If we are just willing to actually go out and to tap into that potential. No, not everybody's going to be a billionaire, but not everybody's meant to be a billionaire. Yeah. Not everybody wants to be a billionaire, yeah. But everybody wants something. Everybody wants something. Most people don't ever give themselves the opportunity to actually get that thing though. The way that I look at personal growth, it's like you're going on this trail. Like when you stand at the start of a trail and like, let's say that you're going into these trees. Well, at the start of the trail, you can't see what's up ahead. Uh-huh. You got to actually get on the path to see what's ahead. But as you continue to go, more and more is revealed. And you start to realize like, wow, this is amazing. Like this is so awesome being on this journey. But if you don't ever get on the trail, you can never see what's up ahead. And that's the thing for me is like you can set an income goal. And then when you get there, you're going to realize that income goal is not what you wanted. Mm-hmm. You can set a career goal and you can get there and realize that's not what you wanted. So like the goals that I have for my marriage, the goals that I have for my parenting ability, the goals that I have for my financial life, the goals that I have for myself physically this year, those goals aren't going to cut it for 2021.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to. Like I want to be one of those people that, you know, another thing that we always kind of like demonize is we talk about people going through a quarter life or midlife crisis. Like that's a bad thing. And in a lot of ways it is because it's just like, well,
depends on what they're doing.
Exactly. If you're one of those ones that you're just going out and you're a guy who's going out buying an overpriced car and a Harley, yeah, that's probably a bad thing. But if it's one of those things where you finally woken up to the fact that, holy crap, like my life statistically is more than halfway over. Like I got to get on the ball and actually start living my life for the first time. Like I want to wake up that way. I want to wake up that way every single day. I want to wake up with that sort of intention every day, on fire to actually go out and start taking action. The thing that terrifies me the most every single day is laying my head down the same as I started the day. And some people hear that and they're like, dude, that is so BS. Like, no, the people who really create great lives, those are the type of things that we think about. I don't want to go to bed the same version of me that I woke up as. I want to change in some way. I want to grow in some way. And if you can start to get yourself to live that way, you're never going to go through life anymore with that end all be all destination, because you're going to realize right now you cannot even conceive of the possibilities for your life. But if you continue down the path, more and more is going to be revealed, and you're going to realize there's a lot more out there for you than you ever thought was possible.
Damn, Justin, that is good. That is some solid gold nugget right there to end off this conversation. But okay, so for the lovely people that want to follow and see this growth for the Justin of 2021, where can they follow you on social media?
The best place to follow me is on Instagram at Justin S. Aldridge.
Okay, everyone, please follow. I mean, this conversation has been very fruitful, very enlightening. And I think on a practical sense, can help so many people like the average Joe. And this is, I think we're all in this journey of wanting to live out a life that's worth living, the uncommon life. And even if, which I don't believe that many people are, but even if you're not a big dreamer, quote unquote, right? There's still greatness inside. There's still purpose that needs to be lived out and purpose that needs to be recognized. You're not just here to take up space. I believe that for everybody, for sure. 100%. But that's awesome. Keep killing it. Keep doing your thing. This has been great. Thank you again for coming on. I have loved this chat. This has been so there have been so many moments where I'm just like,
well, I'm grateful for the fact that we've been able to connect. I'm thankful that you were able to have me on here. And I love sharing this stuff with people because I want people to look back on their life. You think about those cliche things of like looking back on your deathbed and things like that. Like I literally want people to look back on their life and be fulfilled and satisfied with the way that they live this one life that they actually have.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And you're living it out for yourself, which gives you that voice and that credibility so that anybody can do this. And I hope that everyone does. Every single person, even without a title of a coach, I would hope to impact the people that come across my life in a positive way, in any kind
Absolutely.
of way.
You're doing a great job. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Justin. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Again, follow him and watch his growth, watch his inspiration. He's got plenty of stuff out there that he just gives to the world every single day. And it's so much fun to be a part of. So thanks, Justin. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Peace out.
Yeah, you the model, the lawyer, the stewardess. Yeah. You the doctor, the dentist, you doing it. That's why they scared of